Once again, it's time for the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, round 4, week 4, and this time around, you're getting 2 scripts for the price of 1. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. One of those threats, like I mentioned, is zombies, and that's sort of the subject of the book that I'm working on for this challenge, 100 Days of Making Comics. I'll let you know what that's all about, but since we're talking about books, yeah, like I mentioned, my book is Young and the Dead. It is a kids versus zombie story. It is basically the story of kids who wake up in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and have to fight for their life and find a cure, and it's in homage to all those great action movies starring kids in the 80s like Goonies, Monster Squad, E.T., Explorers, Stand By Me, you know, that kind of fare. And if you're into that, or if you're into more modern stuff like Stranger Things, which is also an homage to all those type of things, you'll probably be into this book. But yeah, anyway, it's Young and the Dead, Kids vs. Zombies, 4 issues available now. I am working on the 5th one as part of this challenge. And what is this challenge? This challenge is the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge. It's pretty easy on paper anyway. Basically, the gist of it is that you have to spend 30 minutes a day at least on your comic book project. You do that for 100 days straight without fail, and while you're doing that, every day you put up some sort of post, whether it's on social media. It could be a Facebook post, it could be Instagram, it could be like I'm doing on YouTube, it can be, I don't know, in some kind of a Discord session or something like that. However you want to do it, but you just have to let people know to hold you accountable. I'm doing it a little differently only because I've done this thing so many times that I've sort of proven to myself. So I'm sort of changing it around, and I'm making it harder in some ways and easier in others. The harder way is that I'm making the minimum an hour a day instead of that 30 minutes. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm not posting every day. I'm doing a once a week wrap up. But like I've said before, if this is your first time around, it's really imperative that you do that every single day. Otherwise, it's really hard. Like I said, it's harder than it sounds like. Once you get into it, there's a lot of people that unfortunately drop off and just don't complete the challenge. But that's the challenge. And just to let you guys know, this was started by Kevin Cross way back in the days. Like I said, I was sort of an early adopter. I've been doing this for a while, and since then it's grown quite a bit. And we want to continue to keep it growing. So if you're thinking about doing the challenge, there's one other question I get quite a bit, is that do you have to start at the beginning of the year or the month or whatever? There's no specific start time. You can start any time as long as you keep going for 100 days. So anyway, that's the challenge. So back to the story that I'm working on, where I am in my challenge. So if you remember last week, I had completed the script to issue number 5, which is the next issue that I'm doing. But I'm trying to do another thing a little bit differently, and that is not just work on one comic, at least not just the script for one comic, but I want to complete my story. I want to have the story complete so that when I start drawing, I know exactly where I'm going to go, so I can wrap this thing up and have a conclusion. So even though I started off, I wrote this is the first draft for issue number 5. Anyway, so that's what I completed at the beginning of last week, the script for issue number 5. And I said what I wanted to do is also this week is create the script for issue number 6. Now, issue number 6 is going to be a little bit bigger. There's a lot more going on, a lot of loose ends to wrap up. So I wasn't quite sure if I could get it done, but I put in a little extra time, more than just the hour a day, which is fine. You can definitely go over. You just don't want to go under whatever you set for your time, whether it's 30 minutes or more in my case. But I did complete issue number 6, the first draft of issue number 6. Now that I got both of these issues, I'm going to kind of go over them with a fine-tooth comb, pop out the dialogue, make sure everything sounds good. But I'm really happy to have this done. You can't believe how long I've been thinking about it. I've had these ideas in my head, and to have it all kind of come together and make sense, and something I'm really happy with, and to conclude, to have that final resolution and just know how the story's going to end and know every step what's going to happen to make that happen. It's a pretty awesome feeling. So I'm super excited, super sort of proud of myself. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to pat yourself on the back when you do a good job. And that's something I'm doing. I've got this complete, and I just kind of sat back, and when I hit that last key on that keyboard, I was like, that's it. I did it. I wrote the script. It's done. It's in the can for the most part. Like I said, a few things to kind of go over with a fine-tooth comb and everything, but it's pretty much complete. And what comes next? Next, I get to actually start drawing and fleshing things out, thumbnailing and all that stuff. So pretty excited about that as well. Now, the other thing I mentioned that I wanted to do on this episode, because last week I talked about scripting and how I go about my scripting, so I didn't want to go into that over again for the sixth issue. I wanted to talk about another form of creating your comics other than going to full script. I'm kind of partial to full script, but another way of creating comic book stories that doesn't require a full script like this, and that is the Marvel method. So I wanted to talk a little bit about okay. So it sounds like we got mail. We are definitely going to talk about the Marvel method, but I want to check out what we got because I've been expecting a few things. So if you're not familiar with how we do this in the underground layer, we have the Vaculux system, which sends our packages through different areas of the underground layer. But it's a little tricky, as we'll see. Here we go. We've got some packages here. They're a little bit small, not much bigger than a comic book thumbnail. Of course, these are probably comics because people like to send me comics and I like to get comics, but I don't want to read them this tiny because my eyes aren't that good. So what we have to do is they're dehydrated. But once we get here, we just want to add a little water, we bring them back to normal size, and then we can check them out. So let's do that. Okay, here they are at actual size, and oh man, there's some stuff I've been waiting for. I got a couple things right here. This one I was not expecting, but I've got some things from these artists and writers before, and actually we're gonna have them on the Artcaster show coming up. But this is a comic book bundle, and let's see, is this a new one, or is this, I'm gonna have to go in here. Yes, these are new ones. So I got sent another package of these a few weeks ago, and I unboxed them on the show too. And these are really great. They're mini comic bundles, and I just love this idea of getting these little packages of mini comics. So I got the package 1 and package 2. Now it looks like I've got 3 and 4. So wow! And I'm anxious to talk to both Aaron and Jason on the show. I think might be coming up on the Artcasters this week, actually, if all goes well. And I just want to talk to them about collaboration and how they're putting these things together. So this should be super exciting. I'm probably not going to open both of them right now because we don't have a whole lot of time. But I just want to show you one of them. But I just love the way they put these together, and they're just great little stories. I love the writing. I love the idea of writing in such a short amount of space and making a good story, and that can be done. So that's definitely something I want to talk to them about. But yeah, just 3 awesome little mini comics. I'm anxious to read those. I read the other ones. I love them. So I'm anxious to read these, and I'm anxious to have both Aaron Guzman and Jason Alexander on the show. And so stay tuned for that. The other one, as you can see from this picture right here, is from Russ Leash, and it is Only Death Can Save Us, which is a book that he's been working on for a while. I've had Russ on the show on the Artcasters as well, and I've been watching the process of this book for a while, and I'm so excited to finally get this. So I'm just going to open this thing up real quick, get my trusty blade out. All right, okay, and it's nicely packaged. Wow, it's even bubble wrapped, even inside of the box. So I'm gonna be careful with this. Okay, here we go. Oh, we got another bag. Oh, look at this, look at this. All right, let's see what we got here. There is a ton of cool stuff in here. Oh, sweet. So look at this, this is a magnet. This is definitely gonna go on my fridge. It's like a chibi cartoon version of Death from Only Death Can Save Us. Then we've got, oh, look at all these little mini prints. Oh man, these are so sweet. I just love Russ's artwork. There's more too. Here's another one. And another one. Characters. Man, look at these. Oh man. What's great about this comic is it is a throwback, or it's an homage to like the Bronze Age of like Marvel Comics, and that is my favorite era of comic books. And this is the book here, which I'm going to look at in a minute. But we got another little sticker, Only Death Can Save Us. And then, oh, look at this. Oh man, look at that. Look at this print. A signed and numbered print, limited edition. I assume this is by Russ. No, the initials look, oh it is. It just is ours backwards. So yeah, so from Russ, and then this is it. Oh sweet, it looks so awesome. Oh, I love the wraparound. Look at that wraparound cover. I love the design. Oh man, this really looks cool. I love it. I love it, Russ, if you're watching. Look at some of the artwork in here. I cannot wait to read this. And oh, the paper stock, it's not like super glossy. It's all color, but it's not super glossy, which I cannot stand those glossy interiors. Man, and there's just a lot of supplementary material in the back, it looks like. But oh man, jeez, look at this. Look at this. Wait, there's a splash page here. All right, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And then it opens up to it's a big splash page. Man, Russ's artwork is so awesome. I am gonna, if I can remember, I'm gonna try to leave a link to both Russ's, where you can get this book, and also the mini comics bundle. So that is super awesome, and like I said, Russ's comic it's like a throwback to 80s Marvel Comics. Russ has actually done some work for Marvel Comics, and just brilliant work. But speaking of Marvel Comics, one thing I wanted to talk about is scripting and the way Marvel used to do it back in the day. I don't know if they still do it that much anymore, but what's considered the Marvel method. And it's a little different from the way I work, and like I said, I like to work full script. But back in the day when Stan Lee sort of took over what was once Timely Comics and then it became Marvel Comics, the way he used to approach storytelling was just to basically write out kind of a general idea or a plot, and then he would sit down with his artist and have sort of a story session, kind of let them know what that was, and they maybe throw a few ideas back and forth. But even without that script, the artists, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko at the time, and then other artists would of course jump into the fold and create what we know of Marvel Comics. But the way they worked was, say like Jack Kirby, he would just sit down at his desk and sort of take this general idea, this plot, and illustrate that whole story, and then after that they give those pages back to Stan Lee, and he'd go in and he'd fill in the captions and the dialogue and all that kind of stuff. The problem with this method is that a lot of times, because it wasn't an exact science, we didn't have that tight roadmap to follow, which is sort of why I like having working from a full script. But you know, there were a lot of times where they had to go back and they had to redo pages or add things because it didn't all make sense. And unfortunately, and this is the way comics is, the comics industry, they didn't get paid for any of the pages that didn't see print. So there was a lot of extra wasted effort doing that. But there was a lot of benefits to it. I think if you look back at those old Marvel Comics, stories just felt a little more lively and kind of fly by the seat of your pants type storytelling, and they just didn't feel as stiff. Because sometimes you can run into that if you are writing a full script, and if you ever got every single thing planned out, it can seem a little stiff. But since Marvel Comics, especially back in those days, were very action oriented, I think they could easily get away with it. If there's a lot of heavy like plot twists, or you know, things that have to be referenced back to other issues, or just to, you know, the way comics are done now, I don't know that you can necessarily use that same framework, but it might be a good experiment. It might be something that I want to work on future books. Now I'm still a ways away from completing Young and the Dead, but at least I've got the story done. So in moving forward, maybe I should take a crack at doing something, at least maybe a smaller comic in that Marvel method style. But I want to know from you guys, what do you guys think? Do you like you want to try to work in the Marvel style? Have you worked in that sort of style? And the good thing about this, I don't think it necessarily has to be like Stan Lee coming up with the plot, then giving him to one of the artists, and then kind of working back and forth like that. I think you can work in this method just one person if you are a sole creator as well. Just kind of have an idea and just keep going. It's a little scary to me because I like to have a lot of stuff that connects and everything, and to me, I think of the drawback seems to me people that sort of work with their whole idea scripted out versus kind of, you know, just going for it and trying to make it work as you go along, is that maybe you get in the point with like the Star Wars sequels where they didn't really plan everything out, and what I thought started very strong with those series, it just kind of ended up like it seemed like they didn't know where they were going to go. So anyway, that's my biggest fear. But it's worth a try, and you know, comics are all about experimenting. So I would encourage you to either, you know, work from a full script or experiment with this Marvel method. And if you have, let me know what you think. Yeah, I mean, don't be a stranger in the comments section. I usually try to get back to everyone. So send me a question if you've got questions. Also, I also want to continue my series of Making Comics 101 live anyway, where I answer questions to you guys live and everything, and then some of those questions I like to get in advance so I have something to start off from. So moving forward, getting to that next episode, any questions you guys have about making comics, comics in general, whatever, just let me know in the comments section, and hopefully I'll be able to answer those on a future episode of Making Comics 101. But as far as the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, that's going to do it for another episode. I'll see you guys next week. That is all.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.